Hello, basketball fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. I'm your host, Kelly Loft, and thanks for joining us here at Studio One, Marshall Local Cable Access, and online at smsumustangs.com. And again, this week, we talk Mustang men's basketball with the head coach, Brad Bigler. The Mustangs splitting a pair of road games last weekend to wrap up the regular season, beating Concordia St. Paul before losing to number 9 ranked Minnesota State Mankato. We'll talk about those games and look at the highlights all on this week's episode with the head coach. And Coach Brad Bigler joins us. And again, the Mustangs wrapping up the regular season with a 71-69 win over Concordia on Friday night before losing to Minnesota State 85-75 in a high scoring affair. Both teams shooting very well from the floor, and we'll talk about that particular game here later on, Coach. But the regular season is now completed. It's been a long journey starting out in California, and now starting off the postseason in Moorhead this Wednesday night. The Mustangs will be on the road for the NSIC tournament. They'll be the number 5 seed in the South Division, and they'll have to play the number 4 seed MSU Moorhead Dragons on Wednesday in Moorhead. And Coach, you know, everybody's 0-0. It's that cliche that's been used many, many times, but it is the truth. And we start the road this week, Wednesday night against Moorhead, and you know, we need to win some games here to keep this season going. And
like you said, it's a new season. The new season started yesterday with practice, and now we have a chance. I kind of used it earlier. You turn your dreams into reality right now, and our guys had a great practice yesterday, and now they'll follow it up today, and we'll get on the road tomorrow and head up to Moorhead, and it'll be a challenging game.
Well, obviously, a lot was riding on last weekend's games for the Mustangs. They needed to have one more win than Upper Iowa did going into the weekend, and the Mustangs did their part Friday night, beat Concordia St. Paul, and we're hoping maybe Upper Iowa would lose to Augustana. It did not happen, so you go into Saturday's game, and the Mustangs needed to beat Minnesota State Mankato and have Wayne State beat Upper Iowa, and that happened, but couldn't get past the Mavericks, and we'll talk about that game and maybe the highlights. We'll talk about it much more here later on, but give Minnesota State credit. Really played extremely well, had a lot of good looks at the basket, and they shoot 81% in the second half, and that really was the difference.
And it was. They were good. Monahan in that second half was a player that we had a very difficult time defending. And it wasn't necessarily his scoring, it was his passing ability. He came off those ball screens, and he was finding shooters, and he was finding their big guys and setting them up for layups. And just a great overall performance. I never thought I would have saw someone shoot 80% on us in a half, but Mankato was not to be stopped that night, and give them a lot of credit.
Well, the previous night, as we mentioned, the Mustangs got it done with the win against Concordia St. Paul, against a team that has been playing extremely well. They went on the road and beat Winona and Upper Iowa the previous weekend. And you go up there Friday night playing a very scary team that's got some very good players, and kind of took them out of their game, did it on the defensive end. You only give up 34% shooting in the first half, and you win 71-69. Just overall a very good team win to beat the Golden Bears.
And it is. And guarding the three-point line versus them was a key. Being able to take away those opportunities from the guys surrounding Therese. Therese was able to put up a pretty good night, but that we were expecting that. We were really trying to shut down those other guys and trying to limit him as much as possible, but our focus was more on the other guys, and I thought our guys did a very good job of matching up and making them work.
Very incredible numbers in the game. The Mustangs had just 7 turnovers, which is a great amount. Few. But Concordia only had 3, which is still to win on the road is key, and you get you out-rebound the Golden Bears 42-37, and just made enough plays down the stretch. And you know, the Bears came back and made it a very tight game, but great to see, you know, Matt Zager make that basket, and Jordan Miller, guys making plays that you need in the final minutes of a game.
And our spacing in that last 5 minutes was good, where you saw Matt Zager driving hard to the middle and being able to finish on a couple different occasions, or he dropped one off to Nick Smith for a layup. So Matt's been playing at a pretty high level right now, and it's good to see. And we're going to need other guys to be able to step up here on this final run. But versus Concordia, we finished that basketball game. We were able to change up our defense there in the last 5 minutes, get a few stops, chase down some rebounds out of our area, and we're able to just kind of come up with a win.
Well, some of the numbers for Southwest, Nick Smith, 20 points and 7 rebounds. Also had 4 assists for the Mustangs. He was 9 of 14 shooting in the game, while Matt Zager 16 points and 5 rebounds. Jordan Miller had 13, and Lavion West added 13 points off the bench for the Mustangs, who shot 46% from the field and had just 7 turnovers, as I mentioned. Again, the next night, the Mustangs then go to Mankato to take on Minnesota State. Big night for Jordan Miller, had a season-high 26 points, the most points by a Mustang player this season, while another balanced attack, Nick Smith, had 15 points and 12 for Lavion West. And it just seems, Coach, if those 3 guys can get some points for the Mustangs, West off the bench, William Giddings getting you some points, but if Nick and Jordan are scoring, we're going to be in every basketball game, and that was kind of the case this weekend again.
Going into the game versus Mankato, our offensive game plan was okay. We were able to attack. They took away some things by trying to deny the ball screen, but we have several counters to that, and we were able to score at a pretty high clip, shooting over 50-some%. Having an okay on turnovers, not great, but having an okay number. But defensively, that's where we're having our biggest trouble with Mankato. Just our ability to match up with their size and their athleticism. We were outmatched in some regards, and so that's where we have to be tougher. And I thought we played tired throughout the night, and that's just something that you can't do in that big of a game where you can't play tired. You can't let yourself fall to that. You have to be tougher, and that's where we weren't.
So the Mustangs, with the loss, finished the regular season with the record of 16-13 and 13-9 in the NSIC. And Coach, as we talked about, we needed some help. If we weren't going to go 2-0, we needed a loss or two, and we can look back at that all weekend long. But it basically comes down to that regular season in the conference. Just some games that we had. We win a couple of those. Maybe hold on at Sioux Falls. We're hosting a playoff game. Hold on to beat Mankato and St. Cloud. And now you're sitting at a 3 seed, and it's all about making plays down the stretch, and we did that at Northern and at Moorhead earlier this season, but that's all got to be forgotten now, and it is what it is. Your record tells you, and now the Mustangs got to go on the road.
The margin for error in the NSIC is so little, and the certain teams that find a way to win ball games at the end of the game, there's something to be said about that, and there's a special quality for teams to be able to win those games. And unfortunately, early on in the year, we had a lot of opportunities to win those games, and we weren't able to do that. And so that puts us in this situation where now we're trying to fight from behind, and our backs are against the wall. And going into this conference tournament, we know that in order for us to make the NCAA tournament, there's a pretty good chance we're going to have to win the conference tournament. We're in the mix, but there's a pretty big gap between where we're at and being able to be truly into the tournament. So we have a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, it is. A quick update on the regional rankings. It's a very big region now. It's the Northern Sun, the Mid-American Athletic Association, which has teams from Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri in that conference, and then the Great American Conference, which is a newer league this year. They do not have an automatic bid, but they've got some very good teams, and those are schools from Arkansas and Oklahoma. 42 teams in the region, top 8 make it. Mustangs were number 9 in the first regional rankings that came out. So you're right on the bubble, as Coach mentioned, and losing to Minnesota State obviously did not help, but the Mustangs can win it themselves if they can win 4 in a row in the conference tournament like they did last year when we won 3 straight and got that automatic bid. And, of course, things are a little bit different this year, Coach. So last year kind of were in the tournament going into the conference tournament. You're going to make the NCAA, but still great to win it, and that's what you have to do again this year, make that run and make that resume very strong for the Mustangs. So, again, we'll talk about the conference tournament here shortly, but let's take a look at some of the highlights from last weekend's games against Concordia St. Paul and Minnesota State. And we start off on Friday night, the Mustangs going right to left in this opening half in the gold uniforms, and Southwest with an 8-point halftime lead. Right away you see the Mustangs moving the basketball. Jordan Miller, a nice pass to Nick Smith for a layup, and here's David Condon with a layup.
And a nice pass by Lavion West. Big DC with a reverse layup.
David was 6 minutes in the game, had a couple of rebounds and the 2 points. And again, Nick Smith, big night, 20 points, and here's a couple of easy baskets for Nick here on layups. Great passes.
And another great find by another teammate, Matt Zager. Nick with the banana cut, as we like to call it. And again, Will Giddings finding Nick for another easy bucket.
Nick Smith Again, Miller the layup here. Jordan 5 of 10 on the defensive side. The all-time blocks leader for Southwest. Nick Smith gets one right here, swats it, and more importantly, gets it to one of his teammates. Mustangs 6 of 12 from long range. And here's Zager, top of your screen, hitting a 3.
Ball's going to get worked around. We're going to cut off the action, and Nick finds Matt on the backside, spotting up, wide open.
Again, Nick Smith, 4 assists. First time this season he's led the team in assists in a single game.
And it worked out on Friday night that to be able to get a lot more post touches for Nick. How they're defending the ball screen allowed for us to throw back and get post touches. And our guys were cutting off him and playing off Nick. And I think that was where you'll see that more and more here as Nick's career finishes. Next year he'll be counted on to be more of that of a presence like that.
Mustangs shoot 49% in the opening half. Here's a steal by the Mustangs on the press. Tramel Barnes nearly fouled, but after that Lavion West jumper, and Lob drills another one off a pass from Birch. And then David Condon with the block. Presence known underneath.
And David gave us again this weekend just that little extra energy off the bench at that position. He was able to finish a couple buckets and get a couple tough rebounds.
Mustangs with 4 blocked shots, and there's a big-time athletic play by West and gets the ball to go off of the Concordia player, Mustang basketball. Mustangs with 36 points in the paint. Here's 2 of them right here. Nice fake, and the fake shot and pass by West over to Smith. Mustangs wrap up the first half here with Zager hitting a jumper from the baseline and then capping off the first half with a 3-pointer.
And early on in the half, Concordia, they had the momentum. They were playing well. We were having a tough time stopping them. But then we started making extra effort plays like that where we were getting offensive rebounds, getting tips on the basketball, and not necessarily watching. We were more active and making plays to put ourselves in situations to be successful.
Under 2 minutes to go in the first half, Miller with the floater. And the Mustangs here with a minute. And shot clock under 10. Nice offensive rebound. 12-0 boards for the Mustangs. Smith grabs it, puts it back up, and the Mustangs have a 38-30 halftime advantage. The lead got up to 14 early in the second half. Miller with the 3. And the Mustangs, again, had that 14-point lead with 17 minutes to go. And Jordan stepping up in the second half. 13 points, 6 rebounds in the game, and hit 3 threes, the Mustangs' senior guard in the game. Mustangs patient, shot clock winding down here now to 10, and just getting your play set up, going against that zone defense.
And that's where going up against a zone defense, there is going to be a different tempo. You see Bernard Birch knocking down the shot late in the shot clock, and our guys have done a lot better job versus zones, especially with understanding that tempo and taking high percentage shots. Sometimes that early 3 versus zone is not always a great look, and we always want to try to get action to the rim first.
Zager with the jumper. The lead got down to single digits in the final minutes. There's Barnes with a tough jumper in the paint. Game was tied with 7 minutes to go. Mustangs had a 1-point lead with 3 left. And then some big plays down the stretch. There's Nick Smith with an and 1. And Lav with a tough
jumper
shot.
in the 15 range. Yeah, and Lav right there, it was good to see him attack and balance and pivot in balance and then still be able to rise up. Right here, you're going to see us getting the ball to Nick again, and that's where Matt Zager has that nice hard drive. I talked about it earlier, finds Nick for the layup, and that was a big possession in that ball game. And here again, similar type look where Matt Zager is going to put the ball on the floor and get all the way to the rim, and a little sky hook there, but good effort by Matt Zager to finish that basketball game.
Yeah, that basket by Zager gave the Mustangs a 5-point lead, and they held on. The Golden Bears hit a 3 later on to get it down to 2, and then Mustangs made some free throws down the stretch and win 71-69. to 69. But overall, against a hot team like that, is nice to come back and be able to get that win.
It is. Concordia St. Paul has won quite a few games in a row, or quite a few games the last few weekends, and it's because of their ability to shoot. They've been shooting at a high level, and that's where Therese is so much of a weapon, because they have so many shooters around him, where you have to help out on the shooters, and well, he's going to get a lot of assists. If not, then he's going to get all the way to the rim, and he shoots the ball at a high percentage at the free throw line as well. So they're a tough team to guard. I think they figured some things out throughout the season. And I think they're a team that's got a bright future, with a lot of those guys returning, if not all of them returning.
So now we go take a look at the highlights versus Minnesota State Mankato. The Mustangs in the white uniforms. And in the first half, Southwest playing very well. Actually outshot the Mavericks, Coach, 50-43, but Mustangs still trailing by 5. Their ability to hit some three-pointers, and Southwest just 1 of 7.
Yeah, and offensively, both teams were ahead of going a little bit. That's where we couldn't keep up with them, or we couldn't stop them in the second half. They really got it going, and give them credit. They were determined. That conference championship was on the line, even a regional championship.
A chance to host
the regionals on the line, and they were motivated. I give them credit. They seemed to want it a little bit more than us, which was frustrating, but hopefully get a shot at playing them again.
And the Mustangs points in the paint, they had 40, but Minnesota State countered with 54. And as we talked about, they had a huge second half where the Mavericks shot an incredible 81.5%. But here the Mustangs, time off the clock, and Bernard Birch gets a tough layup. Against Southwest, shooting 50% in the opening half, with just 1 of 7 from long range. Birch with his pull-up. It's that jump shot.
Jordan Miller with the nice steal, and comes down, and good extra pass, and we find Lavion for a nice little layup. As you know, when you play Mankato, they're good athletes. They have the ability to guard one-on-one, and so you have to be able to finish on a one-on-one setting, and that's where throughout the night we were able to do that. I thought we were able to get some good action to the rim and finish. Again, it wasn't the offense on this night, it was our defense and our ability to finish possessions with rebounds and to be able to make plays. On versus Concordia St. Paul, we made a lot more plays on the basketball, tips on balls, steals, with regards to just making plays. And versus Mankato, that was not the case.
Saw a tough layup by Giddings. Here's Zager working hard, going around, and Zager 5 of 9, 10 points. Didn't hit a 3, but still had a solid night shooting, over 50% from the field. Here's Smith with his right-handed hook shot. And the 1-3 for the Mustangs. Watch Miller here out the end out. Gets the pass, catches it back from Nick. Pump fake, gets Williams off his feet, and drills the 3. Mustangs now into the second half, trailing 34-29 at halftime. And Jordan heats up. He finishes 9 of 18 from the field, 5 of 11 from long range, and a season high, as you mentioned, 26 points. And need him to have a great conference tournament if we're going to make a run, Coach.
We do, and at the end of the year, that's where your best players, your leaders need to step up. And we feel that the combination of Trammell, Lavion, and Jordan are 3 seniors that are capable of doing so, and we're looking forward to seeing how they finish.
You see 3 straight three-pointers here in the highlights by Miller. Jordan gets a screen from Smith, drives, and 17-footer missed by West, but the Mustangs keep it alive, and Bernard gets the layup.
And that was just being at the right place at the right time. Mankato was fighting over that ball, and Bernard was in the right place at the right time. But you know what? That's give him credit for being there.
The Mustangs headed down to a 6-point game with about midway through the second half, playing right there. But the Mavericks, who, again, as we talked about, just kept having their way with the Mustangs on the other end of the court, shooting an incredible 82%, which got to be one of the highest against a Mustang team in a long, long time, if not ever. But the Mustangs still able to, as Coach mentioned, be able to score and shoot 55% ourselves. Of course, Southwest led the conference in field goal shooting this season. Second straight year the Mustangs have led the conference in field goal percentage. There's West driving, tough with the right hand, gets the and one. Couldn't get it to go in, but it was fouled on the play. You see a lot of Jordan Miller highlights.
And when you're trying to come back at the end of the game, I thought we did a good job of not taking poor shots. Sometimes when you get in that mode of trying to get back and into the game, or you can take some questionable shots. You see here we're taking a lot of layups and we're getting action to the rim, taking a lot of high percentage shots, and also we were able to get the foul line. And those are things that you need to do, and it goes back to now you have to be able to get stops on the other end. And Monahan put on a pretty good performance with regards to his passing, and that really is something that we're going to have to break it down. And we're going to face a team here on Wednesday in Moorhead who plays a similar style with regards to a lot of ball screens. So our ability to defend the ball screen will be a key to advancing in the tournament here in the next 2 rounds.
And we wrap up here. Nick Smith drills his first 3 of the season. That wraps up the highlights for the Mustangs. Mustangs fall by 10 points to Minnesota State, who won the conference outright with their victory over the Mustangs, and Winona State losing to Augustana. So the Mavericks are the #1 seed in the South and the #1 overall if that was needed. But again, the Mavericks win the conference championship. So Southwest now, Coach, we got to put a direction now to the conference tournament. And as we mentioned, on Wednesday night, 8 o'clock in Moorhead, you'll take on Minnesota State Moorhead. And Coach, a team that we beat in mid-January, they were had a hot team at that point. They were coming off, I think they were about 13-3 at the time, and you beat them in overtime. Talk about the Dragons. They've gone on a little bit of a tailspin, losing 9 of 12 until this last weekend where they won 2 games at home to finish the regular season. Talk about the Dragons. They've got one of the most dynamic players in the conference, Anthony Tucker, who averages almost 20 points a game. They like to shoot the 3, and they can rebound as well.
And they have one of my favorite players in the conference in Alex Novak. I think Alex Novak is a guy who over the course of his career has done a lot of good things. He can rebound the basketball, he defends multiple positions. You have a combination of him on the defensive end, and then you have Anthony Tucker on the offensive end who on a given night could drop 35 points with you playing good defense on him. And that's a tough combination. They surround him with some shooters in the Vaughn and a couple other guys, and they have a solid team. When you look at their numbers offensively and defensively, they're a good team. I think similar to us, they've lost a lot of close ball games this year, and that's weighed a little heavily on them. But going into the postseason, we both have like a new light. It's new, fresh. I mean, it's a new season, so the opportunity's there. So it'll be a battle just like it was last year when we played them the last 2 games of the year. This is an opportunity for us to maybe kind of do what they did to us last year. This is an opportunity for us to maybe finish their season like they did us last year. So there's all those little extra motivations in there. Our guys should have a lot of motivation. There should be a lot of different things that are pulling at them, and hopefully they're prepared and ready to go on Wednesday.
Yeah, it should be fun. Everybody gets excited for the conference tournament time, March Madness, so to speak, and it'll be kind of us against the world. We'll be on the road for Wednesday's game. If the Mustangs can win, they will more than likely be at Minnesota State for the quarterfinals, which will be played in Mankato. The Mavericks host Minnesota Crookston on Wednesday night, and then the Final Four will be the next weekend, next Friday and Saturday in Rochester, Minnesota. And of course, the Mustangs won the tournament last year when it was an 8-team tournament, now expanding to all 16 teams making it, and should be an interesting couple of days here for the Mustangs. And we'll have all the highlights next week. Hopefully we're talking about a couple of Mustang wins on next week's episode. But again, the Mustangs play on the road this Wednesday night, 8 o'clock against Minnesota State Moorhead. The Mustangs beat the Dragons earlier this year in Moorhead, so it should be a great game for the Mustangs up in Moorhead. For the head coach, Brad Bigler, I'm Kelly Loft. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. Until next week, go Mustangs!